Okay, here we go. Tes Amud Aleph on the top. We actually have some Pesach stuff. Pesach's coming up pretty soon, right? So we got some, well, it depends when you're listening to this, but when I'm recording this, Pesach's coming up pretty soon. So we got a lot of Pesach stuff coming up today, and a lot of great stuff as well, other stuff as well. Okay, Hashem keeping a promise to Avram, quote unquote. We'll see what that entails. We mentioned yesterday that one can. How can one be Yotzei his morning time Kriya Shema at night? Meaning it's still considered nighttime, and yet he could still be Yotzei his morning time Kriya Shema. How's that possible? So the Gemara answered, because even though it's considered daytime technically, he hasn't gone to sleep yet, right? He has the night shift we mentioned. So therefore, for him, it's still considered nighttime. Now, the Gemara makes a qualification. Amar Reb Zera, we are on the last word in the line, is Amar, 4 lines from the top. Amar Reb Zera, as long as you didn't say hashkivenu. Hashkivenu means to lie down, right? So if someone said that hashkivenu, the word's lying down, then obviously he's declared at night for him, so now he can't say his daytime Kriya Shema. Guess Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amar, Had Rabbi Achab, Rabbi Chanina, Amar Yeshua ben Levi. Lav bepirush itmar, el mechlol itmar. He didn't say this specifically, this klal, right? That you can be Yotzei 2 for 1. You can do a 2 for 1. He didn't say this specifically. At bepirush, explicitly, rather he said it, it was implied, implicitly, right? It was an implication. Itmar, he said it implicitly. There were a pair of rabbis, that they got drunk at a wedding of the Berei Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Asula Kamedi Rabbi ben Levi, they came in front of him. Amar, Kedaihu, Rabbi Shimon Lismei Chala b'shas chak. He said you can rely on Rabbi Shimon b'shas chak, meaning they got drunk, and the time for Kriya Shema passed, right? Chatzos passed, and they didn't read Kriya Shema yet. So they said, listen, b'shas chak, if it's really a time of need, you can even rely that one can read Kriya Shema until dawn. So they got drunk at a wedding, right? And we know there was a story which we're about to get to in the Mishnah about the kids of Rabbi Gamliel getting drunk. Lamaisa, the Torah says that a drunk person cannot daven. Now, we just had Purim, obviously, right? This is very Nageya, Purim, Ma'ariv. Some people are drunk, and lightheaded might be okay to daven. Drunk person, it's an abomination. If this person is really drunk like light, that's halacha like light, then it's an abomination to daven. And it has certain implications, like on Zmanim, even it might override Zmanim, right? If the person can't daven in time, but he's really drunk, he shouldn't daven. So there's different halachas depending on how drunk the person is. Weiter. Maisa Shabo Banav. There's a story that, like we mentioned, that the kids of Rabbi Gamliel came home from the party, and what happened? Chatzos passed, and they said, oh, we didn't read Kriya Shema. So Rabbi Gamliel told them, well, you can really say it until dawn. So, in fact, the Gemara about Hashaloi Shemolu Rabbi Gamliel Hachi Kamer I'm sorry, Lo Shemulu Rabbi Gamliel, meaning the children of Rabbi Gamliel asked him, wait a second, we didn't say Kriya Shema yet, it's past Chatzos. And then Rabbi Gamliel, you know what he responded? He said, yeah, but you can still say it until dawn. The children didn't know this. They were his father. They were his son. They should have known this halacha. So Gemara says, no, hachi kamarlei. Rabbanan pligi alechu v'yachid rab malach karabim. This is what we're saying. The kids were telling their father, Rabbi Gamliel, the Rabbanan say that you have to say it by chatzos, and you say until dawn. And when you have a majority and an individual, the majority overrides. So the halacha goes like the rabbim, the halacha goes like the majority. The chachamim are plural people, obviously, and the Rabbi Gamliel is only a yachid. So maybe we should go like the chachamim, and now the chatzos has passed, we can't say Kriya Shema anymore. Or maybe the rabbanim hold like you. And when they said until chatzos, that's only to distance the person from avera, like we mentioned in the Mishnah. Really, one can read until alais, until dawn. Why does they say chatzos? So that people won't procrastinate, right? So maybe the Rabbanan hold like you, or maybe no, they don't hold like you. So he says, what are Rabbi Gamliel saying? Really, the Rabbanan do hold like me. This is Rabbi Gamliel's extended response. Really, the Rabbanan do hold like me. But you should say it till chatzos. But the Rabbanan would agree with me that if one misses chatzos, bidi eved, he can still say it until dawn. The Rashba actually derives from here that even l'chadchila, one can recite Kriya Shema until dawn. Now, Lamaisa, the Shulchan Aruch argues, he paskins against that, and says it's only b'di'evid. But either way, it's interesting that the Rashba does derive that halacha from here. Weiter. Yes, weiter. Okay. I think it's my last on that. Okay, so we said that not only this, right? there were a couple things that we mentioned that the Rabbanan say that you shouldn't do that. You should really have until Chatzai, really until Alais, but the Rabbanan only say Chatzai so that you shouldn't procrastinate. And the Gemara said not only this, but we applied it to a couple different halachas as well, not just Kriya Shema. Meaning Gamaliel said this before he even mentioned the whole Geder about Chatzais. He said V'lo zu bilvad. He didn't even mention what the rule was. The rule was that the Rabbanan put Gedarim, right? That they say they try to distance us from an Avera. But he didn't even mention that rule yet when he said V'lo zu bilvad. So what is he talking about? So this is really what Gamaliel is saying. Even according to Rabbanan, they say until Chatzais, it's really a mitzvah until Umar Shachar. So he's just going back on what the Rabbanan's original shita, even though it doesn't necessarily seem to be in the right order. Okay, here we get to some Pesach stuff. Here we go. We're gonna 30 days before Pesach. We're starting to talk about Pesach. Hektor chalavim. So we said that burning the fats, this can be done until Alais. But Be'etzim you should do it until Chatzais, and the only reason the Chacham said until Chatzais is to distance the person from Avera, just like Kriya Shema. Like Tani, one is allowed to eat the carbon Pesach all night. But why is that not included in the Mishnah? Right? The Mishnah is listing things that one is allowed to do all night, but the Chacham say until Chatzais to distance him from an Avera. And yet eating the carbon Pesach is allowed to be done all night, and yet it's not mentioned in the Mishnah. Why not? This is Stira, Krishma Arvis, V'halil B'leil Pesachim. Right? It says Krishma of Marav, and Halil on the night of Pesach, reciting these things. V'achilas Pesach, and eating the Pesach, mitzvah sanachel Amud Shachar. We see that it's a mitzvah until Amud Shachar. Why is it not mentioned in the Mishnah? So Rabbi Yosef like Kasha, Har Elazar ben Azariah, Har Rabbi Kiva. It's not a question really, because there are two different shitas. The Tanya, what are the two different shitas? One should eat the meat on this night. Elazar ben Azariah, Omer Nemar Kan B'Layla Zeh, V'Nemar La'alon, V'Avarti Be'eretz Mitzrayim, B'Layla Zeh. Okay, so we have these two psukim. Now, what do we do with these two psukim? Let's compare them. Malahalon, just like over there, Ar Chatzais, by the Karm Pesach, you can do it until Chatzais, Afkan Ar Chatzais. So here until Chatzais. But Rabbi Kiva says no. So that's the machlekes, right? The Chacham hold it's until Chatzais, right? We have to draw a comparison. When was Mitzrayim, right? It was Ad Chatzais. So therefore, we see that Karm Pesach also only is Ad Chatzais. So then, what does Rabbi Kiva say? He says, so what about according to the one that holds that you have the whole night? So Rabbi Kiva Ad Shas. Chipazon. It says bechipazon. Ad Shas chipazon. Chipazon meant that they went out in haste. They went out very quickly. Right? Klal Yisrael, when they left Mitzrayim, they left very quickly, either because the Egyptians were kicking them out, because the Makas Bacharas, all the plagues were so terrible, or because they wanted to get out of there. Either way, they went out very quickly. So it's until that time that they left Egypt, that's when you have to eat the Karban Pesach. Im Kain Ma'al Tamad Leimar B'Layla. Why does the pasuk say B'Layla? I might think you're able to eat it at the same time as the kachim by day. Talmud leimar belayla belaylahu nachal belaybayim. I would try to compare the carbon pesach to kachim, to holy foods, right? And just like by kachim, you can only eat it during the day. So to here, you can only be during the day. Talmud leimar belayla, that it's really at Laila you can eat it, but not during the day. Once it passes dawn, you can't eat the carbon pesach anymore. It's only that night that you have to eat the carbon pesach. So Bishlam Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, this like Gzeira Shava. This makes sense according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah because he has a Gzeira Shava. Gzeira Shava, the comparison between the two psukim, right? So that's why it's Rach Lamechtav Hazeh. It has to say Hazeh this night. That's why that shows us that you only have until the end of the night to eat the carbon pesach. Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Kiva already learned it from a different word in the pasuk. So what does he need the word Hazeh? Seemingly it's superfluous. So what does he need it for? So the Gemara says L'meute Laila Acher. This night you can eat it, but not another night. Meaning you can only eat it the 15th night of Nisan, not the 16th night of Nisan. Only on the first night of Pesach. Wait, Laila Achadu Dasa. I would think Hayil Pesach Kachim Kalim Vishlam Kachim Kalim. Since the carbon Pesach is Kachim Kalim, light Kachim, and Shlamim is also light Kachim, Ma Shlamim Nechal. So therefore I would draw a comparison between the two things, and I would say Ma Shlam Nechal in Lishnei Yamim V'Laila Achad. Just like Shlamim, it's able to be eaten day, night, day for 2 days in one night. Pesach. So to the carbon Pesach Nechal Shtei Leilos B'Makam Beis. I might say that you could eat 2 nights, that you spread it out over 2 nights. Beis Yamim. And that would be night, day, night. Kamash Malon b'layla hazeh. So one person has the word layla to teach us that you can eat the carbon pesach. Let me finish. Only that night. So here's the breakdown. One Tana holds, what do we need the word b'layla in the pasuk for? To teach us that the carbon pesach can be eaten all night. The other Amira holds that what do we need b'layla? What do we need the word layla for? He holds that you need to teach us that only on the first night of Pesach one can eat the carbon and not on the second night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, where does he learn this? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who learns Laila to tell us the whole night, where does he learn this din about the fact that it's only on the first night and not the second night? Where does he learn that from? He needed the word hazeh from something else, right? So where does he learn this halacha from? Nafka. He learns it from Laita Sirad Baiker, right? The pasuk says that you shouldn't leave over till the morning. So if you shouldn't leave over until the morning, obviously we know you have to finish the whole carbon Pesach at night, right? So Givaldik. End of story over there. Rabbi Kiva, if you learned it from there, from that you shouldn't leave over until the morning, biker sheni. I might think morning is a vague term. Morning could be the second morning of Pesach. Doesn't necessarily mean the first morning. Rabbi Elazar will say, no, what do you mean? What's that Havamina? Biker, whenever it says the morning always means the first morning. It's always referring to the first morning. So therefore, I don't need Halayla Hazet to teach me that is Halayla Hazet. Only this night you can eat the carbon, not the other night. No, I already know that. It says you can't leave over until the morning. End of story. Morning means the first morning. Okay, end of that. So it is a suffix, right? It's a suffix when one can eat. Maybe I'll give this ha'ara after till the two dots. Okay, let's go to the two dots first. Then I'll give this ha'ara. Vahani, let's go right there. Vahani tonight, kahani tonight. This machlekes is like a similar machlekes we have in a brisa. The Tanya learned in a brisa. Sham tizbach es pesach be'erev kavaya shemesh moitzeich mitzrayim. So let's break down this pasuk that we just quoted. Rabbi Elazar be'erev atazeveach. On erev, that's when you have the carbon. Right? At night is when you have the carbon. V'kavaya shemesh, and when the sun comes, ata eichel, that's when you eat. Umay didn't get up. Teischem Mitzrayim ata sayrif. And when you go out of Mitzrayim, when you get up and go out of Mitzrayim, that's when you burn the carbon. Okay. So we're breaking down the different stages of the process of leaving Egypt. Erev, at night, ata zevech. That's when you bring the carbon. Kavaya shemesh ata eichel. When the sun comes, that's when you eat. Vad masay ata eichel. And how long do you have to eat? You can eat until they left Egypt, which was in the morning. That's when they left Egypt. Everyone agrees that when the Jews were redeemed from Egypt, they were only redeemed at night. Let's go back there. Okay, so we told that they're redeemed at night. He holds that they were really redeemed during the day, meaning the redemption started at night, but they didn't leave until the daytime. How do we divide the two times? Like we mentioned, chipazon means haste, the time of haste, when they were rushed out. So the question is, we know that the Jews were rushed out of Egypt the night that they left Mitzrayim. The question is, who rushed them out? So, according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, it was the Egyptians that rushed them out. They said, get the heck out of here, because we have all these plagues, right? All these plagues are happening. We don't want these anymore. Get out of here. We don't want the Jews here anymore. Rabbi Kiva said, Yisrael. Now, Rabbi Kiva holds no. It was the Klal Yisrael that really rushed out, because obviously they did not want to be slaves no more. What do you mean they left at night? Really, they left during the day. Yes, they left. They physically left Egypt during the day. But the Geula began at night. Right, we mentioned that has ramifications on Shalach Manos. Right? If something starts during the day, during one time, then it technically continues throughout another time. If you start davening before the Zman, and then you're not going to finish till after the Zman, does that count? So this has ramifications in Halacha as well. Something very interesting from this is, wait a second, so the Geula starts at night, but why are they so happy? Like at the end of the day, they're still in Egypt, right? Meaning the slavery is the same physically as it was 30 years ago. They're in Egypt. They're still slaves in Egypt technically. They haven't left yet. So what's so great about it? Very beautiful mashal that's brought down. When a person is in jail for 30 years, let's say he's in jail for 30 years, and the lawyer comes up to him and tells him, guess what, tomorrow you're going free. What's this guy's reaction going to be tomorrow? Even though he's still in jail, he's going to be exuberant, he's going to be in a great mood. Why is that? Because he knows he's being freed. In his mind, he's a freed man. Even though physically he's still in jail, in his mind, he's a freed man. Same things with the Jews in Egypt. Even though physically they were still in Egypt and they weren't free yet, their mindset was a mindset of freedom. It's a beautiful lesson, right? Freedom is all in the mind. Freedom is a state of mind. It's not necessarily a physical place, but it's a place. I always hear Rubashkin, when I hear him talking about it, right? That freedom is really a state of mind, where he was in jail for all those years, and he said he really had just had the clarity to know, but I'm still free. I can still be free even in jail, because it's a state of mind, not necessarily a physical place, a physical presence. Let's just do a little more. Did I have something else to say? Yeah, that's. I think that's good for now. Okay, let's just do a few more lines. Another pasuk we quote. So Hashem asked Moshe to please do something. So the word na here, please, is a lashon bakasha, is a request that Hashem is requesting something from Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem said to Moshe, I am asking from you, I am requesting from you, and I want you to tell Klal Yisrael, right? I want you to tell Klal Yisrael that before you guys leave Egypt, please take the gold and silver from the Egyptians. That is what Hashem is requesting to Moshe, to relay this message over to Klal Yisrael. Meaning, Hashem saying, why do I want you guys to take gold and silver? Because otherwise, Avram Avinu is going to have a time on me. I told him that you guys would leave rich. Right? So if you guys don't leave rich, then I'm not being Mekayim my promise to Avram Avinu. So I don't want him to be upset. Hashem's saying, I don't want Avram Avinu to be upset, so therefore please do me a favor, Moshe Rabbeinu, make sure Klal Yisrael take riches. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu respond to Hashem? If only we can get these riches ourselves. What does that mean? Mashal Adam, it's comparable to a person. Speaking of jails, so it's comparable to a person. That he's locked up in a jail. And what do we tell him? Tomorrow you're going to be free from the jail. And we give him a lot of money. So you know what he's going to tell us? He said to them, I don't want anything. I'm going free tomorrow. I don't need any money. So that's why it was sort of a difficult thing for Moshe Rabbeinu to ask from the inn, right? Like, go take this gold and silver. The inners think, we're getting freed. We don't really necessarily care about the money. So Hashem is very persistent. Make sure that Klal Yisrael does, in fact, do this. It's very interesting, right, that Hashem said, I don't want to make Avram Avinu upset, so therefore you guys should take gold and silver. Like, forget about Avram Avinu. Hashem made a promise, and Hashem fulfills all his promises. He should have just said that. I made a promise, so fulfill the promise. Why does he use Avram Avinu? Very interesting point just to think about, ponder over. One more point before we end. No, we said that ein na lashon bakasha. Over here, the word na meant it was a request. Not every time Hashem says the word na isn't necessarily a request. Na does mean please, but for Hashem, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a request. Sometimes it's a command. But it's just interesting to note that it will explicitly say when it is a request and when it's not a request. Shkoyach everyone, that was awesome. If anyone needs any clarity on this Amud, I know it was a little back and forth over there for a little bit, please reach out to me. We will start next time, Be'ezus Hashem, on Tes Amud Beis.